This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Johanna Carroll, and the intention of Dialogue with Divinity is to bring you the wisdom keepers of our time. And today, I'm very, very thrilled to have a brilliant mind with us and a wonderful person who has actually been referred to as the human from the future. We're going to be speaking today with Dr. Elliott Maynard. He has got so many credentials, it would take me a year to give you all of them. But let me just tell you that he is a neo-Renaissance scientist and conceptual designer. He really does walk his talk. He earned a PhD in consciousness research and has served on the facilities of Adelphi University and Dowling College in New York. Dr. Maynard is founder and president of the Arcos Foundation in one of my favorite places, Sedona, Arizona, and he's been active in the Aerospace Technology Working Group, the Humanahad International Leadership Foundation, the U.S. I can't even pronounce some of this, to be honest with you, Association, and the World Future Society, which I think is rather fascinating. He also serves on the editorial board for Kepler Institute for Space Philosophy. So you are known as a human from the future, and you have this wonderful, brilliant book, Dr. Maynard, called Brave New Mind. And, in reading some of this, we also know that you are a quantum field, one of my favorite places, researcher, expert in the science of the future. And you've got this new paradigm, master paradigm, which you say has 25 keys to personal and planetary enlightenment. So can you tell us a little bit about your new book, Brave New Mind, Living in the Future Science World, that you write about this whole future man? How do you think we are becoming what we are becoming? First of all, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Johanna. And how we are becoming what we are becoming? Well, apparently, according to those who are psychically sensitive, the vibrational energy has increased tremendously, perhaps exponentially, over the last 2 or 3 decades. And we've had all sorts of incredible wild card events, so-called, such as the whole infusion of Tesla vehicles into the human consciousness. Now, this book was written because I kept seeing the rise and fall of empires. I saw the same things happening, kill or be killed, survival of the fittest. Yet, there are leaders out there, many of them, who are very troubled by the situation. And I would add that it's very, very important not to separate the humans, ourselves, and the human consciousness from our planet's the environmental consciousness and the biosphere, because we share so many common environmental commons, such as the atmosphere, for one example, and ocean water, which affects everyone in the world, and also freshwater resources, which you know about, and how the imposition of new technologies are coming into this with things like fracking, which we now have to deal with. So I created a whole new operating system for humans, which tries to avoid the entanglements of past paradigms, which are very rigid and inflexible, and they trip us up. And so this new set of paradigms, 25 pathways into enlightenment, I call them, because they handle different aspects of the important things in the world, such as future science art, future science medicine, and the overall master paradigm is future science technology.
When you talk about these 25 keys, I'm just going to ask you sort of a personal question. How did this information come to you? I mean, I know that you really work in both worlds, the world of spirit and the world of science, which I feel is having a great marriage right now. And I would like to know inspirationally and through your own feel of intelligent vibrational connection, how did you discover these 25 keys?
Well, over the years, I worked diligently to try to discover the truth in all of the different disciplines I went through, which involved coral reef ecology, rainforest ecology, oceanography, and underwater photography, so that I could actually personally understand how our environment was being impacted by the differences in the weather, climate change, extreme weather, coral bleaching from warming of the waters, especially in the Pacific areas, and all of these things. And the way I tell people is that you don't need necessarily a guru, or guides are always helpful. I've studied with many, but anyone can access this quantum field, and it's very simple.
Okay, we're going to come back in a few minutes and continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience Journey Trance, Power Animals, Helping Spirits, Sacred Space, and Life Purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Johanna Carroll on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. This show is intended to bring you the wisdom keepers who are going to inspire you to think about your life and live a whole way. We have a brilliant mind and a wonderful person, Dr. Elliott Maynard, that we're speaking to today. He's written an amazing book. We encourage you to check it out. It's called Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. Doctor, before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about vibration and harmonics and how you got inspired to really be one of the wisdom keepers and bringing sort of this new and old information forward. And you speak of a major shift from left brain linear thinking to right brain intuitive thinking. For those people that are listening, how can they really achieve this? Because there's a lot of chaos in the world right now, which is probably a good precursor to change. Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, this is always difficult for those of us who are sensitive or empathic, so to speak, because we pick up other people's angst, individuals, and also the group consciousness that's being dished out to us by the media right in our faces. And these are very, very troubling times, and yet we have new tools and new ways to kind of work, as you said, from the chaos comes order, and we have the ability to do things that most people in the past would have considered to be magic. But all we have to do is we're trained by our teachers, religious leaders, by parents, not to believe anything we cannot prove to be true, and this usually means statistics ad infinitum. I simply say you make a little switch in your mind and you switch it to, I won't disbelieve anything I cannot prove to be untrue. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, and it's a little mental exercise which you'll switch your consciousness, then you can almost always expect what we would call miracles to happen with fairly great regularity. And
yeah.
Then, yes, and anyone can experience this.
I think what's happened, let's look at some of the positive things on some of the advertising. We are seeing the word intuitive, which 20 years ago we never would have seen. So there's a little bit of shift. So in modern technology, I sort of feel on some level there is some kind of validation that's going on. And then in terms of the field of medicine, these sort of non-local consciousness phenomena, are people opening up more to that? Are we seeing this in the world of what we would consider to be traditional and non-traditional medicine?
Absolutely, and I've worked with, I was very close to one of the last Hopi medicine ladies, and I have had healings myself, and as far as everything, virtually everything in the book, I have either experienced or contacted individuals directly who have given me valid information. So just to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Now, it's our natural reaction because of this, oh, that can't work, that's crazy, this guy's a wingnut, all of this. It's a knee-jerk reaction that's programmed into us, and it's something that's caused many, many people to fall back. They can't deal with it because things like healing now doctors are open to because they've seen the results of intuitive medical people who can guide surgeons. So you have a marriage of the intuitive or psychic and advanced technology. And this is where, when you put the two together, something better than the whole comes out. That's synergy. And living in a world of synergy we can create changes in the world almost instantly.
You know, it's amazing to me, the rishis from India, of course, were teaching this, thousands of years ago. But do you think it's just that society and consciousness needed to catch up to this so we could see a better vision of our future and start applying these beautiful innate gifts that we have right now?
Yeah, it's wonderful that you can be that positive in these times, because what happens when you have to be careful what you ask for, because when you exist in this kind of quantum state, which is an openness to anything happening, to miracles happening, all kinds of things will start to come and visit you, opportunities and surprises and things very positive things you could never dream would happen. And on some, if you take the scientific part of it, there's a scientist called John Hagelin, who's a nuclear physicist and head of the Maharishi University, which ties in the ancient Hindu teachings and these things you speak about. Yes, they knew this many years ago. But now we've got some so-called wild card events or things that have happened. We have the internet, so that we can almost instantly gather, under the right circumstances, large groups of people from all over the world to start thinking positively. This can be done in terms of prayer or meditation, and John Hagelin calls it invincible defense technology.
Beautiful.
Because when we do this, we can actually go to the quantum level and eliminate or neutralize the causes of the conflict. And the interesting thing about this is that he's had large groups doing this, different denominations, praying or meditating, and measured the results statistically. This is covered in the book.
I know for myself, my son said to me once, it just really amazes me that you have this belief that you can manifest and create anything. How do you make that happen? I said, well, the first thing is that I really believe that it's part of my spiritual inheritance, first of all. So I'm not going to let that doubt creep in there. And for those of you that are listening, when we speak about the quantum field, some people, I think, maybe, doctor, are a little more comfortable with the universe or heaven or, that whole body of intelligence. And are we using a language that is relatable for people at all levels of life? Is this why we are seeing these doorways open a little bit wider than before?
Yes, I believe so. And I'll give a rather far-out example. One of the areas I actually cover in the book is channeling, because as I've learned over time, many of the ideas that I've had way back, and I didn't understand things at that time, were actually coming from the higher realms. And occasionally they got me into trouble from, in university systems from going out into the wild beyond and working there. But that's a wonderful feeling to venture into the future. Why are so many people blocked from experiencing and moving ahead into the future? Fear is the main thing. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of being moved from their position of comfortableness, and we see this especially in government agencies and large corporations.
So when you say that channeling, which is a favorite, I have to tell you, when I lived in Sedona with all those beautiful red rock telephone spires to the divine and the quantum field, I have to tell you for myself, it really enhanced that. Do you think that anyone needs to live necessarily in what we would refer to as a sacred site to be able to tap in, or is this something that they can naturally channel? Because it is a valuable information resource, and I know it's one of your 25 keys, as you were saying. What's the best way for somebody to really tap into that inner, I call it the telephone line to the divine on some level?
Well, it is very, very positive thing. Let's just say I've experienced this in art. Sometimes it's nice to get together with another group of artists or scientists, because what happens is you begin sharing ideas, music is another area. I talk about future science music. And when people so-called jam, they go beyond words, because whenever you try to bring concepts in the higher realm down, realize that we're putting Industrial Revolution words on them and trying to describe them, which gets our heads screwed up if we get too left-brained about it. So the objective is to get more balance between the right and left brain. The intuitive has kept humans surviving through their instincts in hunting and gathering and the weather and things like this for millennia, and only fairly recently, from the invention of the Gutenberg press, have we gotten so left-brained that we have become anal, so to speak.
Yeah, so the paradigm is shifting in a whole other direction, which obviously is what your wonderful book, Brave New Mind, is really helping people understand. You write about a merging of traditional science with alternative sciences. I'm not sure I've ever really heard that word, alternative sciences. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, alternative sciences is a kind of a tag that those of us who have been in organizations, groundbreaking psychic organizations, I'll use that term, psychic, such as the United States Psychotronics Association. Psychotronics is the Russian word for alternative thinking. And alternative energy also embraces energy systems which do not fit in the human-made physics paradigm, which is rigid and has caused people outside the paradigm, their careers have almost been ruined. The cold fusion is a perfect example of this, and Pons and Fleischmann, the scientists that brought that experiment to light, they didn't have the equipment to understand that the electrodes they were using were flawed, some of them, so others could not replicate the experiments. The Office of Naval Research actually proved that it was valid, and the research is being carried on now. Just another example of how hard it is when the public consciousness is against you. But when it opens up and people become more broad-minded, and this knee-jerk reaction is very, very damaging to us. You see people on blogs just attacking out because they can't bend their mind and be flexible, and so they lash out in anger. If we could only stop this, if you don't have anything positive to say, don't say it. Or if you have a criticism, there's a very nice way to do it. Well, I understand your point, but what about this? How do you handle this?
Mm-hmm. So I think there's another age-old teaching, is it kind? Is it truthful? Is it necessary? I've got this whole thing right now that America is already great, and we just need to remember to be kind again. And so very briefly, relative to education, you feel that some of our time-honored institutions are sort of collapsing. Well, I feel, there's a phoenix rising from all of that. Do you seem optimistic about that? Is there a new phoenix, in terms of education and all of our institutions? Are we reinventing ourselves?
Well,
we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break. Hold that thought. Be right back.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge, breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Johanna Carroll. You're listening to Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And I'm really thrilled today because I have a wonderful, brilliant mind with us, Dr. Elliott Maynard. He's been referred to as the human of the future. And we were talking about, before we went to break, Dr. Maynard, the whole idea of institutions sort of collapsing and you feeling a little bit optimistic that the phoenix may rise out of this with a whole new paradigm. How are you feeling about that, particularly the educational system and all these models that are sort of antiquated on some level?
Well, you hit several nails on the head with that one, and that's resonance. That's what we need to open ourselves to with others in dialogue. And when we agree on even basic common causes, which happens during disasters when people get hit with a severe storm or something like this. But when you said reinventing ourselves, I felt my hairs prickle a little bit, and that's our intuitive senses kicking in and saying, "Wow, that's she's got it." And it's not just my experiences. I'm sharing these things I speak about them because anyone can do them. I used to think that, I want to get back to the university thing. You asked about that. I went to one of the Ivy League type schools, Washington Lee University in Virginia, for my undergraduate work. And at the time, I was kind of resistant to the rigidity of it, but I realized that I learned a lot of the same information that was, George Washington and Robert E. Lee were both presidents of that college. And I actually had a job where I hand-read and wrote summaries of letters from George Washington and Robert E. Lee. So to be able to interface with original source material like that is very impressive. So all of these Ivy League institutions have their purpose, but they are so embedded in the process of education and also the structure, the bureaucracy that results over the years, and you get deadwood and you get the money not being spent in things which would keep us moving ahead. Now, this happens in industry, places like SpaceX and Tesla Motors. So you have these contrasts going on all around.
I have two brother-in-laws that went to MIT. I'll never forget this conversation many years ago. I was just starting my intuitive development program that I have, been working as a spiritual intuitive for many years. And so we sat down one day and we're having a conversation about what I would refer to as the oversoul and the magnetic field. And they looked at me like I was nuts. And I said, well, what did they teach you at MIT? So they just kind of got up and walked out of the room. And I thought, okay, well, this isn't working. So I was sort of wondering if we're going from a programming syllabus model into something where we really are having the opportunity to ignite more of that inner wisdom that will connect people in the higher realm, in the quantum field. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I've gotten thrown under the bus myself by after performing perfectly in my defense of PhD, and I was told to come back and get a master's because I overthrew and overturned a whole theory in marine sciences and went on to get the equivalent of 2 PhDs in oceanography, marine sciences, and then on to consciousness research. There's an interesting little example. I went to a channeling session by Daryl Anka, who I met him and talked with him in his physical self, and he channels this entity called Bashar, who is essentially a Shakespearean character.
Wow.
When I first heard an audio recording, I thought the guy was a total wingnut, but when I experienced this directly and started cross-referencing things, Bashar made a statement. He said, to illustrate how the vibrational energy has changed so we can accomplish new things, if you took a person in this room and put them back 100 years and just dropped them in the street in London or somewhere, they would appear to be glowing to the people there. I thought that was fascinating.
As far as the oversoul, what I refer to as the oversoul, as far as the magnetic field of resonance around them?
Yes, and I thought that was a wonderful example, and it's the sort of thing that people don't just make up. And I've cross-referenced with different channelers on certain items and things. Being a scientist, I always do things this way.
Well, I have to tell you that I do also some channeling. This is not about me. This is about you. And they kind of showed up when I was least expecting them. Yet I feel, and this is a group, council group, they call themselves Illuminated Masters. And some of the stuff that they've downloaded, after I'm writing it down, it's like, where the heck did this come from? Because I don't think like this. And I really feel that we have such a doorway to the divine, to the quantum field, to this higher consciousness, that it would be a shame to be so afraid. For those of you that are listening, consider that there's a door in front of you. All you have to do is really reach out and touch that doorknob. That's your act of faith. leap of faith, belief in yourself, has nothing to do with religion, and open that doorway. So I know one of the things that you have talked about, which I find absolutely fascinating, is you suggested that in order to reinvent ourselves, we need to move into a mindset where paranormal is considered to be normal. So are you equating channeling with the paranormal, or are these totally two different areas?
Well, I agree with you that I'll give you another example, and again, I share this not from an ego point, but I just communicating a direct experience, and there's something that happens when we do this. We're forming a consciousness with this radio show, just as an example, but I call it direct consciousness transfer. And remember the word grok from Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein? And you grok, you get it. You're talking to somebody and they come out with something entirely different, and you go, wow, that's how it happens.
So there's kind of, just to give people a visual, and this is my woo-woo language, which I don't think is woo-woo to me. It's been normal for over 30 some odd years. I always feel that there's like this, what I call a heartstring. And so think of a piece of yellow yarn, and now you've got a magnifying glass and you're looking at it, and it's a vibration. And so this yarn is going, and it's really connecting us. I say that the heart is a pillow for the soul. So on an energetic plane of consciousness and awareness, that doorway that, for me anyway, that we're talking about it's the heart chakra. It's that gateway. It's that doorway of emotion and devotion. And so you also talk about in the paranormal, do we have sort of experiences with communication from other entities? In my language, I call them the organic nations. I mean, are they showing up more than ever?
Absolutely. They're showing up, especially in the media. People, it goes both ways because, of course, Halloween is becoming a international holiday, has become, and we have our smattering of vampires and everything horrible for the simple reason that people seem to have a desire to overcome their dysfunctionality by finding something so horribly twisted that it will get them, out of a boredom, which is a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, it is.
And others of us can get our kicks in other ways, because if you start working with music, or if you start working with anything you do, cooking or needlepoint or sports, you begin to sense when you get into this zone, and it's that simple. When you're in that zone where time disappears, this will happen driving sometimes on the highway, time will disappear, and suddenly you look at something that you've created and go, wow, did I do that? Or how did I do that? And that's exactly what happened on this book. I'll share this little secret. When I looked at the book and it was changed by the person who was doing the typesetting, and the typesetting was changed, I saw it in a whole different way, and I said, how the hell did I ever write a book like that? and then I realized that. I said, I guess I channeled it, even though I'm surrounded by books, physical books here. I've read hundreds and thousands of them, and on, but there it is, And
I can tell you that I've mentioned this before. There was a Brown University professor who taught a writing class, and his comment, which I thought was rather interesting, coming from an Ivy League school, was that all great books are channeled. So we know that you have.
That's wonderful.
Wasn't that wonderful that he would even say that in a traditional classroom environment? So the book that we're talking about, we're with Dr. Elliott Maynard today, is called Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. I have to tell you, there's a part of me that wants to say, oh, future spiritual world too. That's in here as well. So in terms of, you talk a lot about your personal experiences with afterlife communication. You've got a great doorway to the divine going on there. Can you explain that?
Well, I have my mission partner, who is my former wife, was Canadian-Japanese. We were together for over 30 years, and she passed away very suddenly. And I had to go through the grieving process, and I just refused to. I refused to have that blockage between the higher realms, when people die, and so I tried to keep the conversation going. I used a professional after-death communicator. There are many around, surprisingly, and also had the same experience with cats that I've owned. And this is very important and happens more often with pets. But apparently, according to what I've read, other people who are in this area have said that there never was meant to be a barrier between the afterlife and the physical. In other words, people who pass on, we should celebrate them and say, wow, they graduated, no more pain, no more grief, no more being used as a piñata in the physical realm to be hammered into a samurai sword. And so you can communicate with them, and usually what happens is you get little ideas that pop into your head, and when that happens, instead of driving them out with your left brain thinking, you welcome them and realize you're getting a little gift. And they come in different ways. It can be a feeling. It can be a like a pat on your head or something almost physical. I know about these things.
Yeah, a lot of people also, I think the most comfortable place for it to happen is while they're sleeping in a dream state. So it's a little more comfortable. And I know there's an old teaching that I like to refer to. It is in the Bible, and I'm not saying the Bible is good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is a book of information. But they talk about the dance of the veils, and so these are veils of consciousness. And so, to me, anyway, I think we'll talk about it a little bit when we come back from our break. These veils of consciousness definitely can prohibit you from talking to the other side. This is Johanna Carroll. We're going to go into break, and we will be right back. As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X-Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. This is where all the wisdom keepers are. And we're in our final segment with a brilliant guest, Dr. Elliott Maynard, whose book that I really encourage you to check out is Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. First of all, Dr. Maynard, where do people go to find out information about you and your website and all the amazing things that you've done for the planet?
My book, and actually that's the fourth book I've written. The previous one was on the problems of how to solve 12 major problems of the global biosphere. These are on Amazon.com, and the new book, Brave New Mind, Living in the Future Science World, is also on the Kindle version. And our website is at Arcos Cielos, that's the name of our foundation, That's one word, ARCOSCIELOS.com. And on the website, you'll find other shows and interviews.
Okay, so now this is a fascinating subject that I read a little bit about, and we're going to use the value of these last few minutes. Your new book, you imply that the history of humankind is much older than what has been written in history and archaeology books. How can this distorted view of history, are we correcting it?
We're not only collecting it, but we're taking it as gospel, much as the religious books, which you've mentioned, which have been rewritten many times, and each time they've been, let's say that each writer had a different pair of perspective glasses on. So
right.
I want to also say that you mentioned the great masters, the great minds and books were channeled. I fully believe that people like Leonardo da Vinci and others, great minds, great musicians like Beethoven and Bach, they were channeling also. But very few of them were doing this consciously. And if they did, they could never mention it, or they might be roasted over the coals, as you know, by our friends in the church who didn't want such things to be out of their control. So the difference now is that when people can do these things and be conscious during this, in other words, conscious of their own consciousness. Does that make any sense? It's like lighting a fire and then going out into the future and illuminating things around you, because it's a whole new energy, and it allows us to do things which would be considered magical or shamanistic. But shamans have been doing this for a long time.
Shamans have been doing that for a long time, and it's interesting because talking about the church, I mean, there was one time, well, before Constantine showed up, as far as the books on reincarnation and people that used to, have their, I don't guess you'd call them their charms and their herbs and all of this. This was just very natural. And then all of a sudden it became bad and paganistic. And now here we are, really tapping into this wisdom. And I think people that are listening, if you have a level of awareness is a feeling state of consciousness. We're talking a lot about consciousness today. You have such a great opportunity to cross that bridge into your own unique future by having faith in yourself, not about a religion. I'm not bashing religion, but awareness is going to open so many doorways, not just to the divine, but to the best part of yourself. I know that I take people on sacred site retreats around the world, and one year we were in Tulum.
Yeah,
and so, I'm sure you've been there. And so, it's a government site, so you have to go with a government guide. And we're all looking at one another saying, well, that's not right. That's not true. And so we sort of went off on our own and did a meditation. It was so amazing. The pictures and visions and messages, because people just surrendered. They surrendered to the energy of the experience. So for those of you that are listening, after buying Dr. Maynard's book, Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World, I really encourage you to find maybe like a sacred space in your house, unplug all your electronics, get rid of that stuff. Home happy birthday, whatever you have to do, we want you to change the energy around you so that you can tap into this quantum field of eternal wisdom. I know that you, you've done so many things. I could probably talk to you for 5 hours here. Your future science thinking incorporates state-of-the-art hard technology. So, there is part of us that's saying, okay, well, wait a minute, we need to unplug from technology, but there's a lot of value with, I guess I want to call it psychic technology on some level. I say, okay, unplug from the world, plug in your soul. Is that the same thing when you say this kind of quantum leapfrogging into a new kind of technology?
Absolutely, because when you put the best technology together with trained and, the best psychic technologists, because psychic technology is valid they recognize this in China, and they have children there who, just one example, a little girl enters onto the stage of a room with an audience, and each person in the audience is holding a rosebud, and the little girl is holding one too. And she looks at the rosebud for a minute and meditates on it, and the bud opens.
Wow.
And then she looks out at the audience, and all of their buds open. And these are the kinds of things that are being documented. They can put pills or stones inside a bottle that's already got a top on it, or take them out. These kinds of technologies could advance our whole civilization and get away from this. We're still lopping heads off. My God, we've got drones now and all of this technology, and we're using it for what? And there are many, many good purposes and uses for this, and we just need to unify and try to keep positive, which is not easy, not in this world.
Well, I think, for me, I don't really know how anyone could survive this journey right now if they didn't have belief in something, at least a higher power, something other than all this dreck that's trying to drag us all down. But you talked about children, so maybe we can wrap up with this a little bit. There's been so many books written about, the new children of the earth. We have the rainbow children, we have the crystal children of the Aquarian age. Do you feel that the children are going to be the wisdom keepers? I mean, are they really going to be here to influence this consciousness and these veils of fear and sort of separating them at some level? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's really interesting, and this is all well documented in the literature, but until the age of about 7, children have certain recollections and abilities that they retain from their previous lives and experience. And again, talking to imaginary friends, which is fairly common. And I've created a new educational system which celebrates these intuitive abilities and teaches children to work with them together, enjoy them, interact with them, and instead of, oh, that's fairy tales, or whatever. And the fairy tales are there for a reason, They had to be hidden in the times the classical fairy tales were written because, again, the religious people wanted control of those kinds of phenomena.
So it's a new mythology. Well, it's not new mythology. It's old mythology. We're talking about that. The earth is a lot older, so I think we're tapping into a lot of this old energy and giving it a new language through the children, would you say?
Yes, and the system of memorization and regurgitation is just that. It's for parrots, and if you want to teach children how to do something, you set them on a project-oriented, something like, okay, we're going to set up a website for the 2nd grade and of this school, and you do it, and during that process, the children learn. They're encouraged to help each other, the ones that are better at certain things. And they learn many, many different things which will all be relevant to their survival after they leave that class.
Is this information in your book, which again is Brave New Mind for those of you that are listening, living in future science world? This is not just about, this is about a whole new paradigm, a whole new way of shifting your mind and opening it to the doorway of the quantum, the universe, and heaven. So do you cover this in your book?
Yes, I do. There's 25 T's. Yes. It's called a University of the Future concept, which is a whole new educational paradigm. Again, the paradigm is not rigid, but it is flexible, evolvable. It can split off pieces that are no longer needed and eliminate them and go on and create new ones.
I've always felt that when you are in the creative self, you're in the divine self, and you are a huge creator of so many things, including art. And, I don't know how you'd have time to sleep, quite frankly, with everything that you're doing. But I do want to thank you for being here. Again, our wonderful guest has been one of the wisdom keepers on the earth, Dr. Elliott Maynard. His book is Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. So I'm going to say goodbye to you. And we hope to have you back again. So this is Johanna Carroll. You are listening to Dialogue with Divinity, which is all about the Wisdom Keepers helping you to inspire your life to a whole new level. And I want to say that any more information about myself you can find at johannacarroll.com. And we hope to see you on a weekly basis. I want to remind everyone that there's so much fear on the earth right now, but you have the opportunity of choice. And we encourage you in a very, very simple way to choose love over fear and to live your life a brand new way. Thank you for listening, and we send you blessings to everyone, and we hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you again, Dr. Maynard. It's been a pleasure.